This is Tallwave. Tallwave is the nation's first commercializer. Now we'll show you what kinds of companies we look for. Somewhere in the middle of validation, a startup will start showing revenues. Tallwave tries to balance our clients and portfolio companies with a mix of early-stage companies. Roughly half of what we do is with pre-revenue companies, while the other half is with revenue-generating companies up to about $2 million. At the most extreme, about 15% of Tallwave companies are in idea stage, while 10% are very large companies to whom we teach our lean business principles but applied at the enterprise level. Currently, Tallwave focuses on capital-efficient businesses such as software, web, mobile, e-commerce, gaming and media. Now let's talk about Tallwave's programs. The first is called Venture Management. Tallwave has 4 companies in its venture management program, including Ethology, a next-generation digital agency, Psycara, a SaaS platform for SEO professionals, So Media, a media and advertising company, and Wholesale Fund, a CPG distribution and matchmaking platform. Venture management is where we either build companies from the ground up, our own ideas, or we joint venture with entrepreneurs and startup founding teams to help them aggressively commercialize and scale their companies so we can help them manage their growth through profitability and ultimately exit. It's rare, only happening once a year, and these companies tend to come out of our venture services programs. Next is Venture Services. This is where most of Tallwave's activities take place. Tallwave does not make decisions for the companies in venture services, but we do provide the same types of efforts that we provide under venture management. In its first 3 years, Tallwave has worked with over 60 companies within venture services. Venture Services has 2 programs available to startups. The first is High Tide, a business competition that opens twice per year. The program is supported by the Tallwave Capital High Tide Microfund. In High Tide, Tallwave seeks to choose 20 semi-finalists, from which we narrow down to 6 finalists to run through our commercialization engine. The great thing about High Tide is that, while it does require an equity exchange, it does not cost the startup any capital. In fact, finalists will receive $15,000 of capital to put into their business however they see fit. The other venture services program, Venture Development, is really only meant for those startups that have already secured their seed or Series A, or are already in market with sufficient revenues to support an added expense. Venture Development requires both an equity and cash exchange to engage Tallwave, with the baseline costs starting at the equivalent of a full-time employee. Tallwave has 10 slots open every year for venture development companies. There is a vetting process for venture development. Last year, Tallwave evaluated 150 companies to fill these slots. The last component to Tallwave is Tallwave Capital. Tallwave Capital is a network of capital sources that see deal flow from Tallwave. Tallwave builds and maintains relationships with all kinds of capital sources, so that companies coming through Tallwave's programs can find opportunities to pitch and raise capital. This network includes angels, angel groups, venture capital and private equity, as well as lending sources and grants. Also part of Tallwave's capital network is the Tallwave Commercialization Fund. This fund is built for seeding or leading a Series A and is captive to the Tallwave ecosystem. This means that the fund looks for opportunities to fund companies that have been through one or more Tallwave programs. This capital network, together with Tallwave's programs, people and methods, are what deliver the value of the Tallwave way and constitute our ecosystem. Are you ready to plug into something bigger?